Oh, you did? You're still deciding? Awesome. Well, this was a great question. You know, I think one of the first things that we can do is to elect a young governor and send a message to people, especially someone that grew up here and understands what it's like for our generation to want to stay here, but not necessarily have the ability to stay here. Many of us in my generation who were born and raised, I was born and raised out in Bryant Pond with the last crank phone, know a little bit of something about the digital divide. We leave the state and come back. I have had friends in over the weekend for the holiday weekend. I'm sure a lot of you had your kids and your grandkids come in for the weekend and off they went. They're all living in Atlanta, Georgia because that's where the jobs are right now. That's not where I want my urban tribe. I want them here so that I can go have drinks with them every day and not just Memorial Day weekend. But one of the challenges that we're facing, we've heard it before, is student debt. And I think the level of urgency that people feel around it really is a distinguished for me. I have a significant amount of it. I know my generation does and the generation behind me does. It's why I and many others led the fight to bring the Opportunity Maine program into fruition. So if you go to college and stay in the state after you graduate, you can earn a state income tax credit dollar for dollar against your student loan payments. Now that's available for everyday students, right? We worked really hard to make that happen. However, there's another component to it that hasn't really been used, and that is that businesses have the right to pay the student loan payments for their eligible employees and take that tax credit for themselves. Now, businesses often have a bigger tax liability than individuals do. Imagine if you could graduate and you get your salary and you don't have to worry about your monthly payments because your employer is paying that. You're building your credit, you don't have to worry about student loan debt, and it's one less thing that you have to worry about if you want to stay in the state. We do have to build the economy, right? And that's where clean energy, there's so many folks who are in the millennial and the Gen X generation who want to work on climate change and want to fix it. And that is an area where technology is super important, right? And so we can have those higher paying jobs. Also, you may laugh, but I'm the one that led the fight to legalize marijuana in this state. And there are millions and millions of dollars being invested right now for the adult use commercial sector in preparation. You're not seeing it yet because you're not seeing the grow facilities, but hundreds of jobs have been created already in this sector, and we're going to see thousands more come. And we can roll that out responsibly, and we can get the tax revenue and redirect that back to education. The last thing I would say, having grown up in rural Maine, we don't see this as much here because the elementary schools, there are so many people that go to school here, but when you get into rural parts of the state, the elementary school that I graduated from, I was in the first class, is consistently up on the chopping block. Now, I'd like to move back to rural Maine. I'd like to move back to Bryant Pond. But if I'm going to have children, I need to know that they're going to be able to go to school where their elementary school is. So we have to really think about elementary schools and rural elementary schools as part of the strategy. It doesn't necessarily impact this part of the state so much, but if you really want to bring people back, they can't afford to live in Portland and South Portland and Cape or Yarmouth, any of these places anymore. We all know that. I mean, Mark, you talked about it when you were younger. When I first moved to Portland, which was the big city, it was $500 a month, everything included, for a 2-bedroom. $500 a month, everything included, for a 2-bedroom.